When God calls you to leave, do you listen? Do you trust Him enough to walk away from what no longer serves your soul? Today, we're diving deep into the supernatural strength it takes to cut ties with chaos, to break free from the chains of toxic relationships, and to step into the peace God has promised you. If you've ever struggled with letting go, this message is for you. Have you ever noticed how some people thrive on your presence, not because they love you, but because they need you? They don't celebrate you, they survive off of you. They lean on your strength, they pull from your light, they drain your spirit, until one day, you decide enough is enough. And that's when the real battle begins. Walking away is not an act of hatred, it is an act of survival. When you set boundaries, when you refuse to engage in toxic cycles, people will tell you that you're being cold, that you're overreacting, that you're the one who's changed. But let me tell you something, your peace is not up for negotiation. God didn't create you to be a dumping ground for other people's dysfunction. He didn't put you on this earth to be used, to be manipulated, or to be drained. He created you for a greater purpose, and yet, so many of us stay in places that suffocate our spirit. We hold on to relationships that steal our joy. We entertain conversations that drain our energy. We tolerate behaviors that tear us down. Why? Because society has conditioned us to believe that being nice means accepting anything. That being loyal means never walking away. That being forgiving means staying in spaces where we are disrespected. But here's the truth, God did not call you to be a martyr for someone else's dysfunction. When you finally walk away, when you draw that boundary, it shocks people. They didn't think you'd ever do it. They assumed you'd tolerate their games forever. They thought you'd always be available, always picking up the pieces, always fixing what they kept breaking, but you're not their emotional crutch. You're not their unpaid therapist. You are not responsible for carrying their burdens at the expense of your own well-being. And the moment you realize that, you step into the power God gave you. Some people need drama to survive. They feed off of confusion, manipulation, and emotional chaos. But here's the thing about you, you saw it coming before it even started, you recognized the patterns. You noticed the red flags. You felt the shift in the energy. And instead of waiting for the betrayal, instead of sticking around for the heartbreak, you walked away before they could even set the trap. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. That's wisdom. That's God speaking to you. But the enemy doesn't want you to listen to that wisdom. The enemy wants you entangled, distracted, exhausted. He wants you too drained to fulfill the purpose God has placed on your life, because when you're tied to the wrong people, you can't focus on your calling. When you're busy dealing with unnecessary battles, you don't have the strength to fight the battles that actually matter. When your mind is cluttered with drama, you can't hear God's voice clearly. That's why walking away isn't just an option, it's a divine instruction. God is calling you out of confusion. He is calling you out of toxic cycles. He is calling you out of places that are draining your soul. And when you finally obey that calling, you disrupt everything. Because people who benefit from your brokenness will always resent your healing. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're acting different. But what they really mean is this: they can no longer control you. A hard truth: not everyone deserves access to you. The moment you decide to put yourself first, the moment you make the conscious decision to choose peace over chaos, something incredible happens. People start revealing their true colors. Some will guilt trip you. Some will try to manipulate you into staying. Some will pretend to be victims, acting like you hurt them, when in reality, they were the ones hurting you all along. And here's the hardest truth of all: some people never actually loved you, they just loved what you did for them. But now, you've reclaimed your power. Now, you refuse to be used. Now, you walk in God's truth, not in people's expectations. To the ones who have walked away from toxic friendships, manipulative relationships, draining conversations, this message is for you. You are not weak. You are strong. You are not heartless. You are wise. You are not selfish. You are protecting what God gave you. And let me tell you something, God is proud of you. He is proud of the strength it took to walk away. He is proud of the faith it took to trust Him over the opinions of others. He is proud of the way you refuse to be anyone's emotional sacrifice, because at the end of the day, you belong to Him. Your peace belongs to Him. Your energy belongs to Him. Your purpose belongs to Him. And anyone who tries to drain you, to manipulate you, to pull you into their dysfunction, they are standing in the way of what God has for you. So don't feel guilty for walking away. Don't feel guilty for choosing yourself. Don't feel guilty for refusing to engage in cycles that don't serve you. God has something better for you. Something greater. Something higher. But you'll never receive it if you're still holding on to what He told you to release. If this message spoke to your spirit, if you know that God is calling you to step into a new season, I want you to do 3 things right now. Comment Amen below. Let the world know that you choose peace over chaos. Like this video, because the more we spread this message, the more we empower others to break free. Subscribe to Bible Peak. Join a community of warriors who are walking in faith, standing in truth, and refusing to settle for anything less than God's best. Don't let fear keep you in places God has called you out of. Don't let guilt keep you bound to people who never truly valued you. Walk away. Step into your power. And watch how God moves in your life. Stay blessed, family. Not everything is meant to be a battle. Not every conflict requires your engagement. Not every person deserves your energy. Some people will try to convince you that walking away means you've lost. That by cutting ties, you are weak, running from the fight. But hear me clearly, this is not about power. It's about peace. You do not walk away to gain control over someone else. You walk away to regain control over yourself. You are not stepping away to prove a point, you are stepping away because your spirit demands freedom. You see, there are people in this world who thrive on chaos. They don't want resolution. They don't want healing. They don't want peace. They want endless cycles of dysfunction, because that is the only environment they understand. And when you decide that you will no longer participate, when you make the bold choice to remove yourself, that is when they start to unravel. They will accuse you of being cruel, of being cold, of being selfish. But in reality, they are simply panicked because they no longer have access to what they were feeding off of, your energy, your kindness, your stability. This was never about love. It was about dependence. Let's be honest, some people don't come to you because they care about you. They come because they need what you carry. Your light, your peace, your wisdom, your ability to bring stability to unstable situations. And as long as you continue to give, they will continue to take. But the moment you stop, the moment you refuse to be the emotional provider for someone who never reciprocates, that's when the truth is revealed. Because the sad reality is this: some people don't want to heal. They just want to be coddled. They want someone to hold them up, to reassure them, to absorb their negativity. They want someone to be their rock, their strength, while they give nothing in return. But you were never created to be someone else's lifeline at the expense of your own well-being. When you walk away, you do not leave them broken. You simply leave them to fix what they should have been fixing all along. And that is a lesson some will resent you for. They will try to guilt trip you. They will try to convince you that they need you. They will try to pull you back in with their pain, their sadness, their loneliness. But ask yourself this: where were they when you needed support? Where were they when you were drained? Where were they when you felt exhausted from always being the strong one? Because if the only time they come running is when they need something, that is not a relationship. That is an attachment, and you were never called to be someone's crutch. When you are a person of truth, when you carry peace within you, when you live in clarity, it does something to people who thrive on manipulation. It exposes them. It makes their tactics ineffective. It makes their lies harder to sell. It makes their control over you impossible to maintain. Because here's the thing: drama cannot survive in the light. The people who thrive on negativity, who use guilt, who manipulate emotions, they need darkness to operate. They need confusion, uncertainty, insecurity. But when you walk in truth, when you carry yourself with strength, when you refuse to engage in the chaos, you strip them of their power. That's why they resent you. That's why they try to pull you back in. That's why they suddenly start playing the victim. Because without your participation, their game is over. They cannot manipulate what they can no longer reach. They cannot twist a story if you refuse to be a character in it. They cannot keep spinning their web if you have already walked away. Your presence disrupted their comfort zone, and your absence forces them to face the reality they were trying to avoid. And for some, that is too much to handle. Society loves to preach about loyalty, about how you should stick things out, how you should always forgive, always try, always give another chance. And while forgiveness is beautiful, while grace is necessary, it does not mean sacrificing yourself for people who refuse to change. Because let's be real, staying in toxic situations is not love. It is self-betrayal. Loyalty should not come at the cost of your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Forgiveness does not mean allowing yourself to be used over and over again. Love is not proven by how much suffering you are willing to endure. Some people will try to convince you that leaving is weak, that staying and enduring is noble. But let me tell you something: God does not reward suffering that you were never meant to endure. Yes, there are battles that are worth fighting. Yes, there are relationships that are worth saving. But not every situation is meant to be redeemed. Not every person is willing to grow. Not every connection is part of your destiny. And you will never fulfill God's purpose for your life if you keep tethering yourself to people who are holding you back. Walking away is hard. It is painful. It is lonely. But on the other side of that decision, there is peace. There is healing. There is clarity, because when you finally step out of what was draining you, you step into what God has been trying to give you all along: a mind that is at peace, a heart that is whole, a spirit that is free. And that is worth everything. Not when you fight, not when you argue, not when you demand accountability, but when you simply leave. That's when the truth comes out, because as long as you were around, you were covering them. Your kindness, your patience, your willingness to see the best in them, it all worked like a shield, protecting them from being seen for who they truly are. But the moment you remove yourself, the moment you stop defending them, stop excusing them, stop allowing them access to your energy, the mask slips. They cannot hide anymore. And that's when you see it, who they really are, not who they pretended to be. Some people will act like they loved you. Some will act like they respected you. Some will act like they valued you. But the truth is, many of them only valued what you did for them. They valued the way you listened, but not the way you needed to be heard. They valued the way you forgave, but not the way they should have changed. They valued your loyalty, but never questioned if they deserved it. And once you're gone, once you take back your time, your energy, your attention, they will do one of two things. They will lash out. They will call you selfish. They will twist the story. They will play the victim. Why? Because you leaving means they are losing control. They will stay silent, not because they are processing, but because they never truly cared to begin with. There will be no questions, no apologies, no effort. Just an eerie quiet that speaks louder than words ever could, and in both cases, the truth is the same: your presence was a privilege they never fully appreciated. Toxic people thrive on one thing: engagement. They need you to react. They need you to defend yourself. They need you to fight for their approval, to prove your worth, to justify your boundaries. Because as long as they can keep you talking, they can keep you hooked. And this is where most people get caught. They think, maybe if I just explain myself, they'll understand. Maybe if I just give them another chance, they'll see my side. Maybe if I stay just a little longer, they'll change. But you have to understand something. They don't want to understand. They don't want resolution. They don't want healing. They don't want peace. They want to keep you in the cycle. They want to keep you engaged, keep you exhausted, keep you tangled in the drama. Because the moment you disengage, the moment you stop arguing, the moment you simply say, "I'm done," and leave, they lose all power. Some people will try to bait you into conversations just to get a reaction. Some will twist your words just to keep you emotionally invested. Some will deliberately misunderstand you just to keep the cycle going. But you don't have to participate, because here's the truth: silence is more powerful than any explanation you could ever give. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them create their own version of the story. Because you don't need to fight for people who never truly fought for you. And you don't need to justify your peace to people who only wanted your chaos. Your only job? To decide that you are worth more than the confusion. To decide that you are done with the cycle. To decide that your energy is better spent elsewhere. And once that decision is made, there is nothing left to discuss. Some people will try to convince you that leaving is giving up. That if you were strong enough, you would stay and fight. But let me ask you this: would you rather spend your life fixing what's broken or building what's meant for you? Because staying in the wrong situation isn't strength, it's distraction. And the more you pour your energy into people who refuse to change, the less you have for the things God is actually calling you to. So walking away, that's not weakness, that's not failure, that's wisdom. You are not running from problems. You are redirecting your focus, and if they cannot handle that, if they resent you for choosing peace over dysfunction, that is their burden to carry. Not yours. Because here's something they will never admit: they knew you deserved better all along, but they hoped you wouldn't realize it. When you are always there, always fixing, always forgiving, always smoothing things over, you become their excuse. They never have to change, because you always cleaned up the mess. They never had to apologize, because you always overlooked it. They never had to face themselves, because they were too busy leaning on you. But when you walk away, when you refuse to be their shield, they have no choice but to look in the mirror, and many of them won't like what they see, because now, they have to deal with the consequences of their own actions. Now, they have to figure out how to stand without your support. Now, they have to decide if they will change, or continue to repeat the same patterns. But that is not your battle, because you were never responsible for fixing what they refuse to face. And if they truly cared, if they truly valued you, they wouldn't have waited until you were gone to show it. For too long, you were made to feel like you were the issue, like you were too sensitive, too distant, too difficult. Like if you could just be more patient, more forgiving, more understanding, then maybe things would get better. But now you see the truth. You were not the problem. You were just the one who finally decided to stop accepting it. And that's the most powerful thing you could have ever done. Something powerful happens when you decide to walk away. It's not just about you. It's about everyone watching. Because whether you realize it or not, your strength, your decision to remove yourself from toxic situations, is setting an example. You are creating a precedent. You are showing others that it is possible to leave, that it is possible to choose peace over dysfunction, that it is possible to walk away and still be whole. Because for every person who criticizes you, there is someone else who is inspired by you. There are people in your life, friends, family, co-workers, who are trapped in the same cycles you just broke free from. They are watching you, they are learning from you, and whether they say it or not, they are taking notes, because deep down, they want to leave too. They want to set boundaries. They want to break free from relationships that drain them. They want to prioritize their peace, but they are afraid of what people will say, afraid of being alone, afraid that maybe, just maybe, they don't deserve better. But then they see you. They see you walk away with dignity. They see you choose yourself without guilt. They see you thrive in the peace they have been longing for. And suddenly, what once felt impossible now feels attainable, because if you can do it, maybe they can too. People will resent you for leaving not just because they miss you, but because your absence exposes the truth. As long as you were around, they could pretend, they could justify their toxic behavior, they could ignore their flaws because you were always there to soften the blow. But when you walk away, there is nothing left to hide behind, and that is a terrifying thing, because now, they have to face themselves. They have to acknowledge the pain they've caused. They have to sit in the mess they created, without you there to clean it up. Some will lash out, attacking you to deflect from their own pain. Some will play the victim, acting as though your departure was unfair. Some will go silent, unable to process the reality of their own behavior, but deep down, they know, you were never the problem. They just never thought you'd actually leave. Not everyone will take responsibility. Not everyone will change. Not everyone will heal. But some will. Some will sit in that silence, in that loneliness, and begin to reflect. Some will start to realize just how much they took you for granted. Some will finally acknowledge the damage they have caused, not just to you, but to others as well, and in that moment, they will have a choice: continue down the same path, or finally change, not because you forced them to, not because you begged them to, but because your absence forced them to see what they had been running from all along. And that is power, because while your decision to leave was an act of self-love, it may also be the catalyst for someone else's healing. Society will try to tell you that walking away is selfish, that choosing yourself is wrong, that putting your peace above someone else's dysfunction is cold-hearted. But let me tell you something: there is nothing selfish about survival. There is nothing selfish about protecting your heart. There is nothing selfish about choosing peace over chaos. There is nothing selfish about saying, "I deserve better." Because the truth is, staying in toxic relationships does not make you strong. It makes you exhausted, it makes you resentful, it makes you a shell of who you were meant to be, and that is not what God created you for. God did not put you on this earth to be drained. He did not call you to be someone's emotional sacrifice. He did not design you to carry burdens that were never yours to bear. You were created for more, and the moment you recognize that, everything changes. Here's the reality: not everyone will understand your choice to leave. Some will judge you. Some will call you selfish. Some will try to manipulate you into coming back. But the people who truly love you, they will respect you. They will understand that this was not easy for you. They will see the strength it took to walk away. They will support your decision, even if they don't fully understand it, because people who genuinely love you want you to be happy, not trapped, not drained, not stuck in cycles of pain. And anyone who gets angry at you for choosing yourself was never truly for you to begin with. At the end of the day, this is not about them. It is about you, your happiness, your mental health, your emotional well-being, and those things, they are worth protecting, because life is too short to spend it explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. Life is too short to pour into people who never pour back into you. Life is too short to waste energy on relationships that bring you more pain than peace. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel drained, unappreciated, disrespected, remember this: you have permission to leave. You do not need to stay where you are not valued. You do not need to keep giving to people who only take. You do not need to explain yourself to those who refuse to listen. You are not obligated to remain in spaces that diminish you, and if walking away means stepping into peace, clarity, and self-respect, then that is not a loss, that is freedom.